Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Today we'll be getting back into our series by learning a little wit and wisdom. Well, first of all, I have to offer an apology because I'm smoking the wrong pipe. Normally for wit and wisdom, I'm smoking my corn cob because both the book and the pipe I got from Brother Rob at Hooten and Briar. But today is the last day of aging for my Haunted Pirate ship. So I got the note a little over a month ago from Cliff that I should give this a go, the 50-50 mix of Haunted Bookshop and Pirate Cake. And then he said, jar it up and let it age for a month. And today was the day, and I really wanted to get into it. But Latakias and Burleys, for me anyway, don't come off real good in a corn cob. I think corn cobs are great for aromatics and even Virginias and Oriental forward blends. They don't bother me too much. But there's just something about a Latakia or a Burley or a Deep English and a corn cob that just doesn't fit for me. But this, Cliff, is a wonderful blend. Thank you for the heads up on that. I got a few notes too from Chris at Brutal Enough, and then Brother Bob out there in the UK about a few other blends to give a go on, and looking forward to trying those. And in point of fact, I'll be able to get a hold of some of those because I'm going to the MULETOWN Pipe Show. It's a recent occurrence. I initially wasn't going to go because it felt kind of selfish taking a trip, on my own, a vacation by myself essentially, because my wife doesn't enjoy pipe smoking or really anything to do with the hobby. So she had no interest in attending, and I was like, well, I'm going to go on my own. Actually, I had a little back and forth with Ethan about this. And then she was like, just go. Like, go enjoy yourself. Take 4 days. You work really hard. Go take some time off and go do your pipe thing. I don't want to go, but you go ahead and enjoy yourself. So, and it's about a 10-hour drive from where I live in Maryland. So I'm going to give that a shot. So I know Brody Joe and Doug and Ethan are going, and myself, of course. So if anybody else is attending, it'd be lovely to see you there. So I know it's a bit of a drive for quite a few of us, but there's very few chances for us all to meet in person, even when we're relatively close. I'll be traveling again to California on Monday, leave at 4 a.m., and I'll be out there for a week. So I'd hoped to meet with some of our brothers out there in California, but couldn't make it happen. We're going to be relatively close to each other. However, relatively close in California is still quite a bit of a drive. So they're about 2 hours away from where I'm going to be, and I'm there during the work week. So, it was going to be really hard for us to try to mash up a meetup. So couldn't make that happen, which is unfortunate. But perhaps, at MULETOWN, we'll get to see a few of you. And then I'm in North Carolina third week, I think, of February. So who knows? Might be able to meet up with Greg and Ethan. We'll see. But in any case, what I'm going to be doing on these trips to California and North Carolina is teaching some classes, doing some ministry stuff, but doing a fair bit of training. And so that put me in mind of the quote that I'm going to get into today, because I was reading through the Twain book here, and I was like, oh, well, that's apropos. But Twain had to say something about training. Training is everything. The peach was once a bitter almond. Cauliflower is nothing but cabbage with a college education. So Twain's word choice is always rather specific. He never wasted words. If you read anything about Twain, he was a careful craftsman of the English language. And so, when he says, bitter almond, and the progress of cauliflower, he's trying to make a specific point there, right? That you start as something small, hard, and bitter and singular, right? And you grow into something fruitful and beneficial through training. You have all the potential in the world, but without training, nothing comes out of it. Training is necessary for anything. For training for a job, an apprenticeship, or a college education, or whatever it ends up having to be. But also training in spiritual development, which is what I'm doing, right? The Bible says, train a child in the way they should go. When they're old, they will not depart from it. That early childhood training is incredibly important. When my wife and I were first married, we first started having kids, she stayed at home with them. And we had to make some financial sacrifices to make that happen. And, I'm not intending to make some kind of traditional marriage, gender specific argument here. The point of fact is that I ran restaurants and she was a teacher and I made twice as much as she did. So it made more sense for her to stay home, right? So, she stayed home, but because of that, we had to make some financial sacrifices, but it offered us the chance to have more one-on-one training time with the girls when they were young. And when they got older, a lot of problems that some of my friends were having with their kids, we didn't seem to be having because we invested the time early in that spiritual training. The questions they came to us were deep spiritual, theological questions, right? And they were more prepared when these questions came to them from their friends who were atheist or Buddhist or Muslim or so on and so forth. They had an answer for their faith because we put that spiritual training into them early. We can think of training in terms of, like I said, professional capacities and education and different so on and so forth. And then we can neglect the spiritual education that we need to, right? And that can take many different forms. I have a good friend I work with, and he does his spiritual education with his children, takes them fishing. They go fishing, and he talks to them about his faith. Because being out there in nature and taking part in that is very important for him, and that's how he reflects his faith in God, and that's how he teaches it to his children, right? They don't go to a class on theology, they don't go to Bible school, or they don't go to Sunday school and so on and so forth. They go fishing. But he's pouring into his kids and he's offering them that instruction. Me, in my professional capacity, I offer that kind of training as well. Because people want to grow spiritually. They want to grow in their knowledge of the Bible and theology and history and so on and so forth. And to a certain degree, you can do that on your own. I've talked about revelation of God and the Bible and so on and so forth. But when you get to a certain point, you need someone who is further ahead on the path than you are in terms of knowledge, who can turn around and help you all on that path behind. You need to seek that kind of training. If you want to grow, if you want to be fruitful and beneficial, and not just a small, hard, bitter almond, you need to get some training. As usual, Twain hits the nail on the head. And also, as usual, his wisdom can be seen in the Bible. So, and I'm really enjoying, Rob, your new series on Winston Churchill and all the wit and wisdom of Winston Churchill. Again, rather smart chap. So it's good to see his stuff too. I am also going to be recording a Sharp Things video immediately after this one. Actually, I'm just going to hit pause and then start the second one. But I won't be posting that till Saturday because it is Sharp Things Saturday, and I want to take part on the right day at the right time. So until then, as always, I hope you have a lovely week. If you're the praying sort, as Ethan says, then please pray for me on my trip to California. It's three or four flights on the way to get back. The most convoluted route ever. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the air over the next week, and leaving way too early. So if you're the praying type, remember me next week. But until then, have a great week. As always, happy reading.